What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss if Nioh 2 is harder than Nioh 1. Now, there's been a lot of talk on the internet with Nioh coming out. Very glad that it's out, with all the stuff going on in the world. I understand these are just games. These are just small things in time. But you know what? They mean a lot to a lot of different people. And if you're stuck at home and you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you might as well play some games. And Nioh 2 is a fantastic one that is out, which is great. And it's getting very, very high review scores. People are absolutely loving it. And I'm a person from the outside looking in. I've tried to look up as much as I can about this game, about what people are saying about its difficulty, because I find it very interesting how difficult a game could be, especially in the time that we're in. You've seen game journalists complain when a game is too hard, demanding that developers make their games easier. Developers can't even play Doom. They don't even know where to jump over a specific obstacle, and yet they call themselves a gamer in general. But with Nioh 2, it really seems like the resounding answer is this, and it's not even, I had to title this something, right? I had to title it, is it harder than something? Not only is it a lot easier than Nioh, it seems like it's a lot easier than any of the From Software games. I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's easier than Bloodborne, it's easier than Sekiro, it's easier than the Dark Souls, and I think pretty much any game would be easier than the Dark Souls games, but I've seen Bloodborne, I've seen Sekiro, and I've seen Nioh, and Nioh is the biggest one, right? Because if you were a fan of the first game, you played the first game, even the length of the game, how long it's going to take you to play it, that has been compared greatly. And it seems like Nioh 2 is roughly double the size of Nioh 1, which is amazing. I mean, if you're getting this game, or you've already gotten it, or you're contemplating getting it, this is a game that, with doing everything, seems like from the internet, is going to take you not only well over 100 hours, but closer to 150. The first game took around 70, 75 hours if you wanted to do everything. It seems to have been roughly doubled for this game. So again, that's very, very exciting. Now, what I find interesting, again, being someone from the outside looking in, is that difficulty not spike, right? It's the exact opposite. The difficulty kind of tank, where it's making it easier to play. And I talked about this on the channel, or even on my second channel, over the past couple days, over the past couple weeks, where it's interesting when developers do stuff like this, because is it a reach to get more people that otherwise wouldn't have played the game? And I think the answer is yes. I truly, truly do believe the answer is yes, because what you have is a really good foundation. And it's kind of like a 3D chess match. It really is, or a 4D chess match. Because you have these developers who make Nioh 1. It does insanely well. People compare it to the hard games out at the time, right? So it gets the reputation of being a very, very difficult game, and it was. It was a difficult game. Again, you could debate, was that easier than games like Bloodborne, than Dark Souls, and stuff like that? It wasn't out, Sekiro wasn't out at that point, so you couldn't compare it to that. But so you have that notoriety, right? People know that the game is for those hardcore fans. It's for the fans that like the punishment. It's for the people that like to go through things like that, right? Where they like to experience the challenge, where they die, but then they come back, and then you eventually learn, the habits and stuff like that. It's for those people. And obviously there's a massive, massive market for those people. But what I think developers have realized, and what you see a lot of times in these sequels, and you see it in From Software, even though not every game is a sequel, because they don't really do that anymore, you see them still kind of learning from the past, where it's like, okay, we understand we have the hardcore group, and this is what Nioh's done, and this is how it compares to Nioh 1. They understand we have this hardcore group that when the first game came out, everybody loved it. It was, implied that it was very close to these other kind of difficult games. So we have that crowd. Now we're going to make all these improvements. We're going to make it a bigger game. We're going to make it more fun, all this kind of stuff. We're going to make it a little bit lighter. I've seen that you move a little bit quicker. The enemies move a little bit slower. It's easier to kind of forecast or predict what they're going to do. You play with your AI more often, so that it's the fighting is just generally. So they're introducing these practices, and those are some of the biggest examples of Nioh 2 of why is it easier? Why is it easier? Well, those are the examples, and those are the biggest, I think, examples. But you see that they are introducing that now, and I feel like that's definitely on purpose, right? Because again, you have the hardcore group, and now you introduce, basically, you improve upon a lot of stuff. Maybe you take some hits from, okay, well, it's not going to be as difficult, so maybe people aren't going to be as happy that it's not just like this grueling thing. Still, for the normal game, or people that are not necessarily normal, right? That's subjective. That's up to you. But for the people like even me, I am not, and I've said this before, I am not good at these games whatsoever. I'm terrible. And every single game that in Nioh, Nioh 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Sekiro, all these games, the next game that always comes out always gets talked about as, yeah, they keep the difficulty, like they keep the core of what the game is about. Like, it's still difficult. It's still going to challenge you. Those people that are in for a challenge, they're going to get it. But here's some of the revolving things around it that they've tweaked a little bit to make it an easier experience. And I do feel like, honestly, with every one of these games that come out, they continue to get quote-unquote easier, but yet for me, they never do. And I truly feel like that's kind of what makes it special. So yeah, while I'm very negative with the gaming journalists, right? So I do get a laugh when they go out and they say, oh, these games are too difficult, they need to have easy modes, or, that whole situation that happened. Or again, the guy who played Doom Eternal that didn't know to jump over the chain or whatever that was. So you have like those situations that you go and laugh at. But in reality, you do see it happening, but luckily or gratefully, for at least someone like me, it's being done very carefully where I guess they're listening to it, but I really don't think they're listening specifically to those people saying it. I think they understand that once you have something special, you're able to tweak it, you're able to change it a little bit. So, and because ultimately, if you make a sequel, or you make any more games or movies or whatever, you always want to get more people in it, right? That's ultimately you don't make sequels to expect less people to buy it than the game before. That's just, absolutely, even for movies, television, I think for television, it gets into the thing where you do expect that with every season, you're going to lose audiences, and that is a big problem. But for movies and games, you do expect a sequel. Obviously, it's the next one. It's supposed to be bigger. It's supposed to be better. You're supposed to have taken what you have learned from the first one. You're supposed to, I guess, make more money from it. You're supposed to have more people that are buying it, that are playing it in this game situation. And so for Nioh 2, I like it. And I've always liked it. I actually think I talked the exact same thing about this with Sekiro. I talked about, is Sekiro 2 harder? Is Sekiro harder than Dark Souls? I think I had both those discussions. And the thing that you come down with is, it's still challenging, and maybe for the people that are like the people that can like speed run Dark Souls games, is anything really challenging to them? The people that beat Dark Souls using a banana and a Rock Band drum set, is really any game going to be difficult for them? No, they're still playing it because they like that kind of, again, challenge, and there are people still, I guess, in that atmosphere, right, that are kind of the same way. They're not that crazy. I absolutely respect them, but they're not that insane, right? But they look for a challenge. So you're pleasing them because the game is still difficult. The game still does take a lot that you have to learn and that you have to experiment with. But at the same time, look, that is a finite group, okay? And it is a huge group, and I think From Software has proved that it's a group that's big enough to literally carry game after game after game. But you do always want to try and make it, how can we get this game into more people's hands? How can we get this into people's hands? Again, like, I'm using myself as an example because I don't feel like I represent everybody, but I think there are people like me where it's just these games, they're just too difficult. They're too hard for me. But you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm not like going out there. And I'm also not going out there saying I'm the best person in the world at playing these games. So I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to fool myself. I appreciate the challenge, and I don't want them to change. By the way, I'm not going out there saying, oh man, the next one needs to be. I did play Sekiro. I'm not going out there saying, oh, the second Sekiro or the next From Software game, whatever it happens to be, Elden Ring, all that kind of stuff, it needs to be this much easier because I just can't take it. No, I accept that these games are difficult. I accept that they're hard, and I accept that if I'm going to do it, it's a different kind of game. It's just a different kind of game than what I normally play, and I have to be ready for that challenge and for the just different way of thinking about these games. And so if you're going into Nioh 2, I like that if you played the first one, you're still going to get the challenge. It's still going to be difficult, and obviously you're a fan of the franchise, so you're going to be supporting it. But also, if you didn't play Nioh 1, or you're jumping into it now, or you played maybe Sekiro, and you're like, I wonder how it compares maybe to that. I wonder how the difficulty is going to handle, I wonder how I'm going to handle the difficulty in this game. It seems to be following the blueprint that the other games are doing. It seems to be following like the timeline that everybody else is doing, where again it is getting easier, but you have to say that. And again, I don't want to be taken, I don't want people to just take that and run with it, because you got to be careful how you're saying it. It's getting easier in a way, right? And it's forming itself in a way where, yes, I guess, quote unquote, it is easier, but it's still challenging, and it's just trying, and again, it's trying to work its way. The revolving features of this game is trying to make that a little bit more player friendly, and I don't see a problem with that. So I like these kind of games. I like Nioh 2 because it's a game that kind of, again, you can point and laugh at the people that say, and I do. I point at the people that laugh that say games need to be easier. You can point at that, and then you can say, well, this game kind of has gotten easier, and is that a problem? But I think the way these games do it, the hardest of the hard games, the From Software games, the Nioh and Nioh 2s of the world, I think they understand it. I think they understand it where they know that it needs to be difficult because that is their biggest group. That's the people that supported them day one, and ultimately that's what makes their game the game. If Nioh 2 came out and it was just this absolute cakewalk, it's not Nioh. It's not in that franchise anymore. It's true. I mean, they could call it Nioh 2, but it wouldn't be Nioh 2. It just absolutely wouldn't be because it's just so fundamentally different. It would be like a soft reboot basically, right? And so I like how they're handling it. I like how Sekiro did it literally just a year ago. I like how Nioh 2's doing it now. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think about game difficulty? Have you played Nioh 2? Do you think Nioh 2 is harder than Nioh 1? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you, as always, for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next one.